Welcome! Chapter 19 of the book of Revelation paints a picture for us about what it looks like when heaven is opened and Jesus Christ comes out of heaven to return to earth, to rule and reign for 1,000 years. In this description are clues about his second coming. Clues that point back thousands of years and literally can give us, in the big picture, possibly the very year on our calendar today that Jesus Christ will return. If that's something that interests you, thanks for clicking on this video. My name is Scott Clark. I've made an amazing discovery, and it's my pleasure to share this with you. But first things first, this is not a prediction of a pre-tribulation rapture. This is not a prediction of anything. We're going to look at actual Bible verses. They will give us the numbers, and that's all we're doing. This is a theory that I've had for a long time. This is a discovery that I've made that I'm going to share with you. Time will tell if this is how it works, but I want to share this with you regardless. We're going to start in Revelation 19, and we're going to go all the way back to Joseph with the 12 tribes of Israel. Revelation 19:11, John states, "And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes as a flame of fire, and on his head many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but himself." And this is the important verse that we need. "And he was clothed with a vesture dipped," important word, dipped in blood. "And his name was called the Word of God. And the armies in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean." These are the holy angels that return with Jesus Christ at the second coming. As the unholy angels, they got kicked out with Satan 3.5 years prior to this. But notice that the angels are clothed in fine linen, white and clean, but Jesus Christ is clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, unclean. We know that in the Bible, red wine is also symbolic of red blood. And we see this in verse 15, "Out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God." So his vesture is dipped in blood, but really what that is it's wine as well. There's this correlation between blood and wine. And so if you had a vesture that went down to your ankles and you were treading a wine press, wouldn't the hem of your garment get soaked in wine? But it's also blood. And we're going to see this in Isaiah. In Isaiah 63, we see a little bit of a conversation here. In verse 2, it seems like Jesus is being asked a question. "Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat?" So really it's saying, why? Why are you red in your apparel? That's what it's saying. "And thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat." And then he answers, this is Jesus, "I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me." You remember in Revelation 19, Jesus comes back with the armies of heaven, which is all of his holy angels, but their garments are clean, white and clean. Jesus alone has his garments stained with blood. "I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood," see how the wine and the blood go together? "shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come." At the bottom of Revelation 14, we also see this wine press. This has to do with the harvest of the grapes of the earth, the grapes of wrath. And this is a second coming picture as well. In Revelation 14:17, we read, "And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city," that's outside of Jerusalem, "and blood came out of the winepress." blood and wine, even unto the horse bridles by the space of 1,600 furlongs. That's blood up to here on horses. In Revelation 5, we read that Jesus Christ is the Lion of the tribe of Judah when he returns as a lion. In Genesis 49:10, it says, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Binding his foal to the vine, and his ass's colt to the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes." With that picture painted about the second coming of Jesus Christ, and his vesture dipped in blood, and we see why, we get into the interesting stuff now. Now we go back to a type and shadow of Jesus Christ, which is Joseph. And we're going to go back to Genesis 37, and we read that Israel, who's the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, he had 12 sons. One of them is Joseph. Joseph was his favorite. It says, "Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children." This is Genesis 37:3, because he was the son of his old age. And we see actually just above this, we can see in verse 2 that Joseph was 17 years old. Interesting number. But now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, the other 11 sons that he had, because he was a son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. This is where we're going to start making these connections, because this is a garment, this is a vesture, this is a coat. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his other brethren, they hated him. So Joseph's 11 brothers hated him. And they could not speak peaceably to him. Now, without going into the whole story, because I want this video to be fairly concise, God is giving Joseph certain dreams, saying that he is going to be a leader. He's going that they will be giving obeisance to Joseph. Joseph will be above them. And this happened when he was taken to Egypt. He was made a leader in Egypt due to a certain Pharaoh who Joseph interpreted his dreams correctly about 7 years of plenty of corn, which they would have to save up for 7 years of famine in Egypt. And that is what actually brought in the family of Israel into Egypt, which then God created a nation inside of a nation there. But we see prior to this, Joseph is getting these dreams. He's telling his dreams to his family, and his brothers start to conspire to get rid of him. So if we scroll down in Genesis 11, it says that his brothers envied him, but his father observed the dreams above here. And then Joseph, he's looking for his brothers, and it turns out that his brothers are in a field. Then his brothers, when they saw Joseph coming to him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. They hated Joseph that much. They envied him. They envied the love that Israel, Jacob, had for Joseph. And so they conspired to actually kill him. When they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, "Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we shall say, Some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what become of his dreams." So they're conspiring to kill him, and they're just going to tell their father that an evil beast had killed Joseph. And then in verse 21, Joseph's brother Reuben, hearing that his brothers were conspiring to kill Joseph, Reuben heard it and delivered him out of their hands, and he said, "Let us not kill him." And Reuben said unto them, "Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him." And then there's a semicolon, and it tells you why. That Reuben might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. So Reuben was going to come back they were going to leave Joseph in a pit, and Reuben was going to come back, knowing where he was, get him out of the pit, and then save him, and then this would have been over. But that's not what happened. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him. They took the coat that their father had given Joseph, and They took him and he cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, and there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, this is very funny, actually. This is the brother Judah, the tribe. This is the lineage, actually, that Jesus Christ comes from. If you look at the lineage in Luke, Judah, Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah. This is the father of that tribe. This is also where we get the name of the word Jew, Jew. It's from this guy. The very first thing that he says, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? The first thing Judah is saying is, what profit? He's looking for profit. And that's a whole other story about the Jews. But this is where that comes from. This is that tribe. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. This is Judah's idea. This is Judah's idea is betrayal and getting money for profit. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph to Egypt. And then Reuben returns to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, it means Joseph's not there, and where will I go? And they took, this is key right here, and they took Joseph's coat, the coat of many colors that they stripped him of. They killed a kid of the goats. That's interesting. It wasn't sheep, it was the goats, which are actually the grapes of wrath. When you get to the parable of the sheep and goats, it's the goats that the wrath is upon. It's killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, Israel, and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he, Israel, knew it, and said, this is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without a doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes and put on sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. So this is very interesting. Joseph's coat of many colors is taken from Joseph. Joseph is betrayed, sold for 20 pieces of silver, and then taken into Egypt. The coat is dipped in goat's blood and then shown to their father Israel as a deception so that Israel believes that Joseph is dead. Okay. All right, so where are we at? We saw the second coming of Jesus Christ, clothed in a vesture dipped in blood. Then we went back to Joseph, who is a type and shadow of Jesus Christ, and we see that his coat of many colors, he was the number one to Israel, his father. This is basically like God the Father and Jesus Christ. And we've got Israel and his favorite son, Joseph, was given a coat of many colors. His brethren conspired, betrayed him, led by Judah, who wanted profit and got silver out of it. Okay? Then they took the coat, they dipped it in blood, goat's blood, and then they deceived their father with it so that Israel thought that Joseph was dead. Okay. Jesus, when he comes back, he's wearing a coat, a vesture dipped in blood. Joseph's coat was dipped in blood. Okay. So these are spread apart thousands of years, but this is Joseph's a type and shadow, and Jesus Christ is the finale of this. This whole thing that I'm telling you is a second coming story. It's all about the second coming. So anything that we get out of it is about the second coming of Jesus Christ, including we're going to look at some numbers. So in between these two things, Joseph is way over here, and then we have Jesus Christ's second coming is way over here. But in between that, right here, you have the first coming of Jesus Christ. and the year that his death, his burial, his resurrection, but also that was the year of the Passover supper. And we're going to look at, remember what happened with Joseph. He was betrayed for money by Judah, his brother. Let's go to the Passover supper, and we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to cross-reference some things. So we go to John 13. Verse 21 says, "When Jesus had thus said, he was troubled in spirit and testified and said, Verily, verily, that means truly, truly, I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. Then the disciples looked on one another, doubting of whom he spake. Jesus answered, He it is to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him, Judas. Then said Jesus unto him, That thou doest, do quickly." Just prior to the Last Supper, in Matthew 26:14 through 16, we see that one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests and said unto them, What will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? Deliver Jesus unto the chief priests. And they covenanted with Judas for 30 pieces of silver, and from that time he sought opportunity to betray him. And we see that this literally is just before the Last Supper, where Jesus says, Verily I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. Okay, so what just happened here? Jesus says that one of his 12 is going to betray him. It turns out that it's Judas. And the way that Jesus, he could have just outright said it, but he didn't. He used symbolism. And what he did was he dipped a sop. Remember the word that, and look at the word dipped is so important here because this is a connection word. We have in Revelation 19 that Jesus's vesture is dipped in blood. We go over to Genesis 37 and we see that Joseph's coat is dipped in blood. And then we go to John 13 verse 26. Jesus answered, He it is to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot. Okay, what is a sop? Well, if we go to Webster's Dictionary 1828, it says that a sop is anything dipped and softened in liquor. Sops in wine. This is why the Catholics take the chalice and they take their little wafer, which just happens to be in the shape of coinage, and they dip it. That's dipping a sop. That's why they do that. So this is what Jesus did. He dipped a sop. Most likely he took unleavened bread. He dipped it in wine and he gave it to Judas. What is he doing? He's pointing back at Judah, the father of the tribe of Judah, betraying Joseph for money and then dipping the coat of many colors in blood. Are you following me here? Now, what's really interesting, this had me, this had my jaw on the floor when I discovered this, when I put this whole thing together. When you look at the betrayal money, let me just put it on the screen. What do you see here? Judah betrayed his brother Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. This goes together hand in hand. And when you understand that this is one big prophecy that has to do with the second coming of Jesus Christ to this earth, wow. Now I know what you're thinking. I know what you're doing in your head because it's natural. What you're doing is you're subtracting 7 years from this number, because if Jesus Christ comes back in 2030, well, then there was a 7-year period before that called Daniel's 70th week, or Israel's 70th week, which is 7 years long. So you subtract 7 from 2030 and you end up where? You end up in the year 23. So will Daniel's 70th week begin in 2023, likely in the fall? That I don't know. What I do know is that in Hosea 6:2, Hosea said that Israel will live in Jesus Christ's sight after 2 days. And Peter said that 1 day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. So 2 days is 2,000 years. In essence, Jesus is telling Israel that he's coming back to earth in 2,000 years. From what year? Exactly 2,000 years from what year? We're going to be looking into that on this channel. And it just so happens that there's some things that you can't do with other numbers that you can do with 2030 and with 2023. And that is that 2030 is another form of 23. So these two numbers go hand in hand, 2023 and 2030. In Jude 1:14, he mentions that Enoch is the seventh from Adam in the lineage from Adam to Jesus. Well, guess who just happens to be the 23rd? It's Jacob, Israel, and 7 plus 23 is 30. Also, 20 plus 30 equals 50. 50 is a jubilee on God's calendar, and many believe Jesus will return at a jubilee. Now again, I'm not here to make any predictions. That's not what I'm doing. I'm studying a King James Bible, and I'm just trying to get some exegesis. I'm trying to pull out, to exit the facts out of the text. The fact is that Joseph is betrayed as the type and shadow of Jesus Christ. He is betrayed for 20 pieces of silver. Jesus is betrayed by 30 pieces of silver. Both by Judah or Judas. Both of them, Jesus Christ returns in a vesture dipped in blood. Joseph's coat was dipped in blood. Jesus predicted this, both pointing back at Joseph and pointing to himself by dipping a sop in wine, wine representing blood. Okay, I wanted to show you the chronology. It's a coat of many colors, so I used little many colors to show this to you. But I wanted to show you the connections between these prophecies, okay? On the left, we've got Genesis 37. This is verse 3, 26, 27, 28, and 31. So it's chronological. And it says, "Now Israel loved Joseph," so this is about Joseph in yellow, "more than all of his children because he was the son of his old age and made him a coat of many colors." So then if we go over to Luke, this is all it's not in chronological in the same chapter, but it's chronological as far as time goes. Luke 3 is the beginning of Jesus' ministry, and it says Jesus himself began to be about 30. My theory is a 30 theory, okay? And subscribe and click the bell because I've got so much more. There's so much more I have to show you about 30 theory. It's absolutely amazing. You're going to want to share this. You're going to want to tell people about this, okay? And on this channel, we're going to be going through a lot of things that I've discovered over the years, pointing at 30 theory. Again, I'm not trying to date set. It is what it is. I'm going to show you the verses. Luke 3:23, Jesus began to be about 30 years of age, okay, being the son of Joseph. That's the beginning of his ministry. But then we go back to Genesis 37:26 over here, and it says, Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Look at Matthew 26:14. Then one of the 12, called Judas, went unto the chief priests, and he said unto them, what will ye give me? And I will deliver him unto you. Judah said unto his brethren, what profit? Judas Iscariot said unto the chief priests, what will ye give me? What profit? What will ye give me? It's the same thing, just repeated. Okay, and then he says, I'll deliver him to you. And then what Judas' goal here was to sell him to the he's selling him out. And that's what this is over here, delivering him. He's selling out Jesus to the chief priests. Then the next one is light blue. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, the next one over here is light blue. Betrayal is selling out Joseph. That is selling out Jesus, selling out Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. Betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. And then what they do is they take the coat and they dip it in blood, Joseph's coat. And then obviously, chronologically, is the second coming over here, which is the entire point of this whole thing is about the second coming of Jesus Christ. Jesus returns in a vesture dipped in blood. That's the whole point of this story over here, is to start this narrative. The whole point of Joseph is to start the narrative of the coat that Jesus will be coming back in, a coat dipped in blood. All right? And then when you see at the Passover that Jesus dipped a sop and he gave it to Judas. So it's Joseph, Judah, Judas. What profit? What will ye give me? Sell him. Deliver him. Sold Joseph. Betrayed Jesus. 20 pieces of silver, 30 pieces of silver, dipped the coat in blood, a vesture dipped in blood, 20, 30. And Jesus in the center of all this, he dipped the sop, pointing back at Joseph and pointing at his second coming. Absolutely amazing stuff. It's a perfect prophecy. It's a perfect cross-reference. And the money has got numbers in it. 2030, folks. Second coming of Jesus Christ. That's what this prophecy is about. Amazing stuff. That's it for today. I'm so glad that you got to the end of this video, but make sure that you hit that notification bell when you subscribe because there's a lot more coming. And if you appreciate not just the research and production, but the time that goes into something like this, you can simply buy me a coffee, or you can go to my Linktree where there are other places that you can support this work. Thank you in advance for sharing this video, and I will see you in the next one. I love you so much. See you soon. God bless.